getting him signed is probably dependent on what the Air Force allows him to do. I think it was Navy with Joe Cardano about 5 years ago with the Patriots, allowed him to serve his time while a member of the Patriots. And as a long snapper, you probably do have more time to take a day or two away from the team, serve in sort of a reserve capacity, and get your 2-year commitment taken care of.
Let's talk about Kirk Cousins, what the offense might look like, and the draft pick situation for 2020. First, I want to thank Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. He works out of Champlin. It's easy to work with him wherever you live, app, phone, email, text, whatever. Incredibly responsive team, and Tony's a great guy.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
So Kirk Cousins can give a speech.
Yeah, I don't know if you listened to his commencement speech at Michigan State, but it was very well done. He hit on, he said, well, it took me 4.5 years to get through college, so I have 4.5 points for the students that were graduating to remember. And he went, talked about remembering the people that you were with and enjoying your time and learning how to kind of figure out your schedules and be responsible. All very good points. But to me, what stood out is just how good of a speaker he is. He's the son of a pastor, and it shows. He's very well spoken. Had a great message and weaved in some humor along with it, even quoting The Office. So for anybody that didn't see his speech and is interested in things like that, I would just go to YouTube and search for Kirk Cousins' commencement speech, and you'll see it. I mean, it was, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, but very well done.
I remember covering a Vikings preseason game. I think it was in the Meadowlands. Well, I can't remember if it was Jets or the Giants that were playing. Maybe I'm not sure about the place, but anyway, I was in the team hotel, and I remember coming down the elevator and walking out. Maybe this is the night before the game, and Denny Green was giving some kind of a pastor-like speech to a group of people, like in the hotel lobby, and people were like cheering and crying. It was because Denny could be really awkward in front of the media, and he was a king of malaprops for a while there. That was the one time I saw him and I went, oh, maybe he can really move people when he's in the right room,
Well, it's amazing how much, either you think a person, whether it's media that has actually talked to them several times or a fan that just, gets a vibe from seeing a person on TV and thinks they know them. But, so many of these people are much more interesting off the field than they are on the field when you get to know a little bit about them, get them away from football and have a chance to just talk to them one-on-one about hobbies and things like that. I mean, Zimmer as well. You want to talk to him about hunting or his ranch or, wine, all that stuff. He's a good guy to talk to off the field. It's just, he's one of these coaches that gets so stressed during the season and really just overworks himself that, his public persona isn't probably what it should be if he were better at just being able to relax and realize, hey, I'm just talking to people here about football. It's not national security or anything like that.
Well, I feel like I've covered two completely different generations of media coverage in America. And the first generation, there weren't a lot of media people there. Usually there were one or two beat writers covering every team. And people could be themselves, and sometimes that was really good, and sometimes that was really bad. There wasn't much filter, so you could get incredible stuff one-on-one, but you could also have somebody threatening your life because there wasn't like the media relations people weren't just shepherding people through this process. It was really kind of the Wild West. And now you have the opposite. You have massive amount of media coverage for everything. You have very programmed media systems. You have mostly group interviews, and you have modern athletes who watched ESPN since they were 2 and know how to do an interview, know how to not say something stupid. So you get a much more controlled, bland version of people these days. And I think everybody's programmed that way, and you really have to get them out of that element to see some personality a lot of times.
Well, the ironic part about that is that, as media, we look at it and we go, oh man, they're all so polished. They've all been, through, as Brad Childress would say, they've all been through handling school. But it's also a problem a bit for the teams as they're looking at the draft picks, because now the agents for these players before the combine are putting them through not only all the physical drills and really getting them almost away from football activities and more into how fast can you run a 40, how high can you jump in the vertical or far in the broad jump. They're training them physically for the drills at the combine, but they're also having them go through mock interviews with, as if they were talking to a coach or a general manager or a scout at the NFL Combine. And so a lot of these answers are pre-programmed into them. I mean, they know, if they have an off-the-field incident, their agent will take them through, and here's what you should say about it. Here's, you've learned your lesson. You're a better person. You're more mature, all that stuff. And that's why I think Rick Spielman has tried so hard to come up with his own psychological testing from the experts in that field and try to get these guys kind of off their game, get them, maybe not uncomfortable, but just get them a little bit more relaxed so that they maybe let their guard down and speak a little bit more honestly, because I think he's run into a lot of the same issues that media have, which is, here's the dry answer. Here's what I've learned from my agent that I'm supposed to say. And you don't get as much personality as you would like. And I think it's unfortunate because, you go back. I mean, we're never going to go back to, quote unquote, the good old days where, the players are out in the parking lot drinking beers with fans after the game. But, I do think it would help some of these players if they were able to be show a little more of their personality, a little bit more of their hobbies, their interests, their loves off the field. And I think it would help fans connect to the players much more.
Yeah, and I thought one of those misses was Teddy Bridgewater, who has this great personality, whose teammates always said how funny he was, and he very rarely showed that in public because he was trying to be kind of a straight-laced leader. But I think the guy was really cool, and I wish we'd have seen more of that. Let's get to that. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, with Teddy, I think, probably the media saw that a little bit more, after practices, coming off the field or in the locker room. But once you started to actually ask him questions, or he saw, a audio recorder or microphone in his face, then things changed. And so, that to me is also unfortunate because he was and is a great personality. And if he were allowed to show that more, I think people would understand why, guys like Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman had such a tremendous love for the person that he was, because, he was kind of a Bond in that locker room and really was lighthearted. And you see some of that in the videos, the biker type videos that he's done in the Saints locker room as well.
Absolutely. So what do you think the offense is going to look like this year? And we'll touch on this week. This is a subject we're going to be getting much more in depth on as the summer proceeds.
Yeah. So I guess in general, we know that it's going to be a zone blocking. And so I imagine more outside runs for Dalvin Cook, where he's kind of stringing it out, looking for that crease. And that is also why they've gone after the more athletic offensive lineman. I mean, Garrett Bradbury is very athletic for his size, and so I think he was a great pick for them. And then I do believe that they they're going to be more committed to running the ball, and I think they are also going to be more committed to the play action pass was part of the offense last year, but it's hard to really sell a fake when teams know that you're going to throw most of the time. And so if they run the ball more often, I think the play action passing game will be much better. And Kyle Rudolph actually mentioned yesterday he thinks it will also mean moving Kirk Cousins around more so that, it's not, a pass rusher knows the Cousins is almost always wanting to drop to 9.5 yards, and that's the spot we have to get to. Now, if you start moving him around, not necessarily, Kirk Cousins isn't going to be a Russell Wilson get out and run type of athlete, not even an Aaron Rodgers type. But, I think you can move him a little bit in the pocket, move the pockets around right to left, and try to keep the pass rushers guessing.
Thanks to Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Download their app, upload your information. Ordering becomes very easy. They have a members-only deal. $5.99 for free delivery every month within a 4-mile radius. They've added a bunch of Minneapolis restaurants. They've added breakfast. They will deliver breakfast. They will deliver lunch to your office. Obviously, they'll deliver dinner and save you a lot of hassle. Use the promo code TALKNORTH for your first delivery free. Keep using Bite Squad after that because they support our network and they've been great to work with. So Rick Spielman has his 10 picks for 2020. He can take the rest of the year off.
Pretty much. So with the compensatory signing period has now ended, which means any free agents that have signed in the last week and will sign at any point now don't count toward the compensatory system. So you can pretty well figure out at this point how many compensatory picks that teams are going to get based off of their 2019 free agency. And so the Vikings really didn't sign anybody that's going to count much against the compensatory system. And they lost guys like Sheldon Richardson and Latavius Murray. Tom Compton has a chance to figure into the equation too. So right now it looks like the Vikings will have 3 compensatory picks in next year's draft. And to go along with their regular 7 picks, that means that Spielman's already up to 10. And we saw this year, he started with 8 going into the draft. He ended up with 12. So hopefully that means there's not quite as much moving around, moving back in next year's draft for the Vikings.
Let's get a final thought from Tim. Thanks again to Twill in the Edina Galleria. Check him out on Instagram, Twill on Instagram, TWILLMN.com on the internet. And beautiful, they have beautiful photos because they have beautiful clothes. Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent, and bitesquad.com. Talk North for your first delivery free. Final thought, Tim.
I guess my final thought would be based off of the Mike Zimmer golf tournament. They raised about $100,000 going to scholarships. Mike Zimmer awarded 2 $10,000 scholarships to 2 high school students in Minnesota, and they want to eventually be able to build a children's room in a hospital that would be kind of an entertainment room, Xbox, all that sort of stuff. But I will also end with this. Football players are generally terrible golfers. Zimmer had a closest to the pin celebrity contest before the tournament started, which involved all the current and former Vikings. Now, we know Adam Thielen's a great golfer. Kirk Cousins is a pretty good golfer. A lot of the other ones are awful. And the closest to the pin contest, nobody ended up even on the makeshift green on the driving range. So it turned out to be closest to the green instead of closest to the pin.
Well, John Randall and what do you say?
Yeah, John Randall was there. John, so this was a 116-yard shot. And, everybody's getting up there, taking it pretty seriously. John Randall gets up there. He's got the cigar still in his mouth while he's hitting. He like many, was too long and pulled it. But some of them were just hilarious, hardly getting the ball off the ground. And, Everson Griffin was laughing at Zimmer. And, Zimmer was giving people the business as they were hitting. So it it was a fun time, but it was hilarious to watch some of these golf swings too.
Well, golf is just a brutal game. I mean, I once saw Kirby Puckett swing and miss at a golf ball. Here's a guy who could hit a 98 mile an hour fastball